Welcome to Babies from Beyond, the podcast that gives all babies a voice, whether they are still in spirit or already earthside. I'm Lauren Dionysius, a former registered NICU nurse turned baby soul communicator, and I'm here to share the wisdom of today's babies to guide you on your motherhood journey. So today I'm going to be talking about a topic that is actually very close to my heart and very close to home for me. So I really hope that it may resonate with some of you out there who are also on a similar path. So recently I did an episode, it was episode 15, about what if you don't want to have any more children, so you feel that your family is complete. So if that is you, then I encourage you to go back and listen to that episode. But this episode is for those of you who are not sure that you want children ever. And I wanted to do something a little vulnerable and putting myself out there a little more around my own journey with this. It's something that I don't generally share publicly because it's been a very personal and private journey for me that I'm still in the process of integrating and probably will be for quite a long time. Some of you may know, some of you may not know, but I do not have children, and I very likely will not be having children in this life. But this wasn't always my story. I remember even as a child wanting to be a mother with a baby, especially when my little brother came along when I was 5. And then as I got older, that shifted to I want to be a nurse and look after the babies, which I did when I was 23. I ended up working as a registered nurse in the nursery. So if you want to hear more about that part of my story, you can head back to episode 5, where I talk about my journey as a registered nurse and then that morphing into what I'm doing now with baby soul communication. But what happened for me is that as I got older, this desire for children shifted in me. It changed in me. And even as a teenager, I felt, I want to have children, but not yet. I thought, okay, maybe around 30. You know, when you're a teenager, 30 seems like a really long way away. And I had this feeling of, I think by the time I'm 30, it would be good to get married and have babies. And throughout my 20s, I was traveling all around the world. I lived over in the UK for a couple of years, traveling all throughout Europe, Scandinavia. And then I came back to Australia for a little while. And then around my 30th and my early 30s, I was traveling through Africa with husbands and babies being the furthest thing from my mind as I volunteered with animals and wildlife conservation in southern parts of Africa. And then as I went into my 30s, I had set this, I don't know where it came from, but this rule or some kind of box for myself that if I didn't have children by the age of 35, then I didn't want to have children because especially, heavily influenced by my role as a registered nurse. There's the term of geriatric mother came into play during my career. And at that point, it was classed as 35 and above. And I thought, oh God, there's no way I want to be an old mother, a geriatric mother. So I put a rule on myself that if I didn't have children by 35, then that was it. I believe that number is a lot lower now. I know some places you can be 32 and be called a geriatric mother, which I think is just so cruel and so unfair and so brutal and so inaccurate in my opinion, but I won't dive into that too much. My point is I had these rules that society expected of me that I should or shouldn't do or should have done or shouldn't have done by a certain age. And I remember when I woke up on my 35th birthday, I remember feeling really sad. I felt this sense of loss, this sense of grief that maybe I won't be a mother in this life. Maybe that's not my journey. And I had a lot of mixed feelings around that. My own intuitive gifts was just starting to come online at this time where I was starting to connect more with the spirit realms. and starting to have experiences with babies, and my worlds were starting to merge between science and spirit. So I was really curious, but I distinctly remember that grief, like, well, what if I don't have children? You know, I'll never get to be part of that club that every woman seems to be a part of in this world. It's certainly something that my sister was part of, my brother was soon to be part of, that parenting club. And I felt really on the outside of that. I felt like I'd missed out on something. I felt like I had missed the boat somewhere along the line. And there was absolutely a grieving process around that. That still comes up for me now. I'm in my mid-40s now. But after this time, as I went further into my 30s and my late 30s, things started to shift for me, and it became almost the opposite of what I found with a lot of women. So I work with a lot of women that as they approach their late 30s and 40s, the desire for a child intensifies and becomes more urgent, with that realization that they're running out of time in some way. But for me, it was different. For me, the more I went into this work, the more peace I was able to find, the more trust I was able to find. And the more I realized that actually maybe it's okay if babies and children are not part of my life. Like, what if I actually came here in this life to have a life off mothering in the traditional sense? Like, what if my soul did not plan to have children, did not need to have children in this life? And it was something that I often questioned and played with in my mind, because it was something that was so foreign to me, because I felt like everybody was having babies and children around me, and it really left me feeling on the outer, like I was doing something wrong. So what happened for me, and the shift that occurred for me, is connecting with my own baby soul. As I got deeper into this work and I was connecting with other people's babies all the time, I realized, why not connect with my own baby soul? Like, do I have any around me? Like, and if so, what do they have to say? And I remember connecting with a feminine baby soul who was in my energy field, and I could only feel her. I couldn't feel any others. But once I saw her, once I felt her, I felt like she was there all the time. And to start with, I didn't really ask her why she was there. It was confusing for me, because I've had these mixed feelings about being a mother and feeling like it wasn't going to happen for me. But then sensing this feminine soul in my energy field, and it wasn't until probably, I would want to say, like a year or more later, where I stopped and I asked, and I'm like, why are you here with me? Like, are you planning to have a life with me on the earth at this time? Or are you just hovering about? Are you just curious, interested, looking at the world through my experience? Like, what's going on here? And as I connected and communicated with her over the following months and even longer, she started to share with me that my soul came here to mother in different ways, that my soul came to have a life off mothering after many, many past lives of being a mother, of birthing, of raising children, of having big families, and in some lives having 10, 12 children. Also really challenging past lives around loss of children and loss of husbands as well, which was so brutally painful, not just in those lives, but also helped to explain a lot of the fear I had around relationships in this life. And through a lot of really deep soul work, past life regressions, soul retrievals, I learned that my soul's journey in this life was not to be a mother in the traditional sense. that I had done this so many times. I knew how to birth babies. I knew how to raise them within the eras or the times in history that I had these families and that I grew these babies and raised them. And there was something when I heard this that was so resonant in my soul and just connected with me on such a deep level that the guilt and the shame just fell away for me. And it made absolute sense and also so much relief that, you know what, my soul didn't come to mother in the traditional sense. Like, my soul came here to contribute to this next generation or to support this next generation or to mother this generation in a very different way, in a multi-dimensional way, in a way that was well beyond the physical. And, you know, that's not to say that that is better than birthing babies in the physical, like, not at all. Like, all of those women who are here to bring these children to earth have an incredibly important job to do in a time in the world's journey that is very intense and very challenging in many ways. And so hats off absolutely to those women whose souls have put their hands up to receive babies on the earth this life, but also just really wanting to acknowledge those other women like myself who are not here to birth in the traditional sense. And for a long time I thought that I wasn't proper woman. It's like I was only half baked is how it felt, that I was missing out on something, that I had failed in some way. And it was something that I had to do a lot of work on to come to terms with that and to find peace with that. And as I said, I feel like I'm on the tail end of that process now, but I feel like now it's so beautiful for me and I feel so grateful to be able to work with babies in this way, because I know that if I did go ahead and have children, it would completely change the way that I show up for this work, because now I don't have my own experiences to influence the messages that come through from these babies. There's no bias there. There's no preference for one way of birthing over another, or one way of conception over another, or one way of journeying through pregnancy over another, or one way of parenting that's superior over the other. So it allows me to be a clear channel for these babies to share their wisdom and their messages with those who need it most. So I wanted to share this story because I know that times are really changing for women on the earth at this time. I feel like we're definitely a generation where we have had a lot more choice, where we have had choice around education, around career, around travel, around having the autonomy to do our thing in the world, whatever that may be. That's well beyond just being here on the earth to birth children and raise them. And as I said, it's a very important role, but I just really want to acknowledge that not all of us women are here for that job, for that role, and that there's other ways to use that energy, that creative energy, that energy of growth, that energy of birth, that energy of mothering and nurturing that has become such a huge part of my life, not just with the work I do, but I have so much creative energy and so many things that I want to birth into the world, not just through my work and different projects that I have, but also writing and the energy that I have to give to others and to support others and to nurture others. So it's been a really powerful process for me to journey through, and one that has felt very lonely at times. As I said, when you're around everybody, you know, in your peer group or your friendship circles, they're all having babies or raising children, you know, it can feel very isolating. But I really want to share in this episode that it doesn't need to be like that, that there's more and more women who are choosing, either by that choice can be a very conscious choice here on the earth, or it may be a choice on the soul level that may have happened more through circumstance here in the physical, and it may feel like there hasn't been a conscious choice, or you may have felt like me where you feel like you've missed the boat somewhere along the line and don't get to have that opportunity to mother. But I'd really love for you to lean into, what if your soul didn't have that plan for this life? That you are not meant to have children in this life because you're meant to use that energy in other ways to support humanity, to support the growth and the evolution of the planet. Because finally, and I think this has been a long time coming over many generations, that we are starting to realize the value of women and how that extends well beyond babies and birth and mothering and parenting. Like recognizing that rise of the divine feminine, which is not all about babies and children, that there's so many more roles, so many more gifts to offer the world beyond that traditional motherhood role when it comes to women. As I said, not to dismiss those roles here and now, but just to really lean into those other ways to be a woman here on the earth. And especially those of you who may feel, like I mentioned, may have missed the boat, or feel that it's getting too late, or maybe there is a little part of you that is whispering to you, that soul part of you is whispering to you about being honest with yourself. What do you really want in this life? And if you do want children, where is that coming from? Is that coming from deep within your heart, within your soul, within your bones? Or is it something that you're feeling pressure from the external world? Because I think, and this is what my own baby soul was able to teach me and show me. She asked me to really tune in. What did I want for my life? How did I want to show up in the world? How did I want to be of service in the world? And when I really tuned in to my heart, to my soul, to my bones around that, it was absolutely supporting babies and supporting children and being there for them and being their voice, being able to support them. That deep mission for me has never wavered, I think, over many, many lifetimes. But it's shifted gears a little bit, and it's changed and it's tweaked. And even though that was really hard for me to understand and come to terms with, now it just feels so aligned, and I actually feel so much relief that I can put my whole heart and soul into supporting babies in this way. But from a place of passion and creativity and love, rather than from a place of lack or FOMO or missing out in some way. And this baby's soul, she is so supportive. She has never put any pressure on me to bring her earthside. There's never been any pressure. She said, if you choose to do so, she said she will honor that and respect that. But what she helped me to see is that, as I said, in my bones, that is not what my soul wanted for this life. That's not what I came to explore and to journey through. And so now, she is always around me, and I can tune into her. I can feel her at any time I want to. And she helps me with this work from the spirit side of the fence. I feel like she's this little pocket rocket that will help me to connect with baby. She helps us to align the frequencies and the energies so that we can connect and communicate in a clear and honest way. So to me, it's been such a beautiful connection with her to be able to essentially have her in my life and to have her presence and to feel her, but without any pressure whatsoever to bring her to earth. So it's been a really beautiful and profound journey for me. And I really wanted to share that with those of you who may not be sure that motherhood is for you in this life at this time, and to really take the time to sit with that in your heart and tune into what feels right for you. That's what's most important. So I really hope that this episode was able to bring you some clarity, perhaps some peace, and a little more understanding and insight into the roles that baby souls can play in our life. I often say in my work that there's so many reasons why a baby soul may be around you. And only one of those is to bring them earthside. There's so many other reasons. And as I said, for me, this little soul is like this little guiding light for me, like a little candle in the ethers that helps to guide me and to also guide other babies to me, is how it feels. And we have such a beautiful connection. So, yeah, I really hope this episode is able to shine a different light or a different perspective onto to the motherhood journey, and to connect with those of you who may be feeling that motherhood is not the journey for you in that life. And I just really want to validate those feelings and to give you permission to not have children if that's what your heart and soul is telling you.
Thank you for tuning in to Babies from Beyond. If you've enjoyed this episode, I'd love for you to leave me a review just wherever you listen to your podcasts. Also, head over to Instagram and give me a follow at Born Energy, and check out the show notes for more ways that you can connect with your baby soul, including one-on-one readings and online programs to support you. Until next time, trust your journey and your baby. Take care.